Assalamualaikum dan salam sejahtera. Hello and welcome to everyone who watched this video. Nama saya Nur Syafiqah Syarah binti Amiruddin, and for this video I'm going to present the case that I've been choose that related to industrial relations, which is Persatuan Eksekutif Tenaga Nasional Berhad versus Yang Berhormat Menteri Sumber Manusia Malaysia dan ANOR. Okay. So for the second slide, I will explain the detail about the case, which is facts of the case. For the 1991, the applicant, which is Persatuan Eksekutif Tenaga Nasional Berhad, is a trade union that registered under the Trade Union Act 1959. And then the union was accorded recognition by Tenaga Nasional Berhad in 1991 to represent TNB Executive except for certain categories that specified in the recognition letter. So, the union's constitution restrict membership to executive employed by TNB, excluding those that I've been mentioned on the slide, which is excluding managerial, confidential, and certain other roles, which is excluding those in managerial, confidential, or security capacities. So for the 2014 until 2019, the 8th collective agreement governed terms of employment for TNB Executive, which is this is the 2014 until 2019 outlines the scope and terms of representation. During negotiation for the during negotiation for the 9th collective agreement 2017 until 2019, TNB argued that employees in jobs grades E12 to E17 should be excluded from union representation as they fell under managerial, confidential, or security roles. As we can see on the slide 2018 that I wrote, a dispute arose over whether employees in job grades E12 to E17 qualify as executive. TNB referred this to the Director General of Industrial Relations, which is DGIR. More detail on 6 September 2018, TNB referred to this dispute to the DGIR, which is Director General of Industrial Relations. Then move forward to 2019. An investigation of DGIR concluded, and the Minister of Human Resources decided 1,306 employees were not executive. So, on 2019, investigation and findings that have been found in this case, which is the DGIR conducted investigation, including interviews with relevant employees and collected job scope details. So based on these findings, the DGIR submitted a report to the Minister of Human Resources, who decided that 822 positions were executive roles and eligible for union representation. And then 1,306 that I've been mentioned just now were not executive roles and therefore ineligible. Move forward to 2020. The applicant sought judicial review, challenging the minister decision. The minister decision on 14 May 2019 was made under Section 910 of the Industrial Relations Act 1967. The minister instructed the union to remove the non-executive position from its membership. And then the applicant sought judicial review on 2020. Union filed for judicial review to quash the minister decision lagging, which is errors in law and fact by the minister. So based on facts of the case that I've been explained just now, basically the case involves Persatuan Eksekutif Tenaga Nasional Berhad, which is the applicant, and union representing TNB Executive that challenging a decision by the Minister of Human Resources. The dispute arose during negotiations for the 9th collective agreement, where TNB argued that employees in job grades E12 to E17 held managerial, confidential, or security roles and should be excluded from union representation. So following the investigation by the Director General of Industrial Relations, which is DGIR, the minister ruled that 1,306 positions were non-executive and ineligible for union membership. 822 positions remained eligible. Dissatisfied, the union filed for judicial review, alleging errors in law, procedural impropriety, and excessive authority by the minister. The High Court dismissed the union's application, upholding the minister's decision. The next slide is issue of the case. The main issue in this case is whether the Minister of Human Resources made a fair and lawful decision in not referring a labor dispute to the industrial court. So the applicant argued that the process wasn't fair because they were not given to the investigation report, which denied them a chance to respond properly. And then the case also questioned whether the decision followed the Industrial Relations Act 1967 and whether the court should intervene in the minister's discretion, given that such intervention is limited unless the decision is clearly unreasonable or illegal. We move forward to executive capacity. The case centers on defining the executive capacity of employees in job grades E12 to E17. The union argued that these positions qualify as executive roles under their recognition agreement. However, the Minister of Human Resources determined that 1,306 of these positions were managerial, confidential, or security roles, which falls outside the scope of union representation. This raised question about the boundaries of executive classification and its implication for union membership. So for second is union recognition and scope. So the union was recognized in 1991 to represent the TNB Executive as outlined in its constitution and collective agreement. However, this recognition excluded specific categories such as managerial or security position. The dispute questioned whether the union scope included employees in job grades E12 to E17. TNB contended that these roles were excluded, prompting that minister to clarify the scope through a detailed investigation. The minister's ruling effectively redefined the union's representational limits. And the third one, I will talk more detail about the union membership eligibility. It was a critical issue as employees classified under managerial, confidential, or security roles cannot legally join the union per the Industrial Relations Act 1967 and the union's constitution. The minister ruled that 1,306 employees in job grades E12 to E17 fell under these excluded categories, requiring their removal from the union's membership register. For the conclusion on the slide, issue of the case, I would say that the case revolves around the classification of executive capacity for the employees and job grades E12 to E17 and the resulting implication for union representation. While the union claimed this position fell within its recognized scope, PNB argued that many were managerial, confidential, or security roles, making them ineligible for union membership under the Industrial Relations Act 1967. The minister's decision to exclude 1,306 positions from union eligibility redefined the union's scope, impacted collective bargaining agreements, and intensified the conflict between the employer and the union over representation's right. The next slide is the judgment of the case. One is the minister acted within the statutory powers conferred by Section 910 of the IRA 1967, and then the investigation by DGIR and subsequent report to the minister were procedurally compliant and lawful. The second one is the minister's decision did not require detailed reasoning, as no statutory obligation to provide reasons existed, and then the applicant had failed to comply with the minister's decision and did not approach the court with clean hand, and then no evidence showed illegality, irrationality, or procedural impropriety in minister's action, and it cost 8,000 ringgit Malaysia were awarded against the applicant. Analysis and critique. From the case that I found is judicial restraint, which means the court took a limited role in reviewing administrative labor decision, respecting the separation of powers and authority of relevant bodies. And the second one is lawfulness of minister decision, which is the decision complied with the Industrial Relations Act 1967, showing that the discretionary powers are not easily challenged without clear evidence of misconduct. And then the third one is balanced approach, which is the court considered both substantive and procedural fairness, indicating an attempt to evaluate the overall fairness of the decision, not just isolated aspects. And then the critique is lack of reasoning. The judgment did not provide a detailed explanation, raising concerns about transparency and accountability in administrative decision. And the second one is procedural fairness, which means the non-disclosure of critical evidence such as DGIR report to the applicant created an impression of unfairness. Transparency in evidence sharing is crucial for trust in such processes. And then the last one is clean hands doctrine. I want to conclude that the court upheld the minister's decision, focusing on procedural and substantive fairness while adhering to the principle of judicial restraint. The critiques about transparency, reasoning, and procedural fairness reveal areas for improvement in ensuring trust and accountability in labor-related decision. Next slide is timeline of events. Okay, these are the events that have been recorded. So for the next slide is about that comparing evidence and arguments. So these are the references that I've referred during my research for this industrial relations case. Thank you for watching. Bye and Assalamualaikum.